Okay, let's talk English. So in your bag, there are three things that I sent home that stay home. Let's talk about spelling first. Spelling is your baby. It stays home. I don't see this except for the tests each week. Each lesson has 4 worksheets. So on satellite day 1, I'll assign two worksheets. I think usually I say spelling day 1, which means 2 worksheets. Spelling day 2, the other 2 worksheets. Then on satellite day 3, I'll assign the spelling test for the lesson. So for lesson 1, and I give the instructions on the assignment sheet, but parents will administer the test. Students will write a nice heading, spelling test 1 is the title, and then give them a few minutes to study it. And if they are like, no, I don't need to, encourage them to study it for a few minutes, study over the words, look back over the rules, and then you're going to call out the words. They're going to number them, write them. And this again is something that you need to do, is then look over that spelling test, do a quick grade of it, mark how many they missed, write how many they missed at the top of the page, and then that comes back to me in their satellite work folder. They'll get that satellite work folder on classroom day 1. Okay, so that's spelling. It's pretty straightforward. It really doesn't change the whole year. And those spelling tests are a formative grade. So I will take those grades when I get them in the satellite work folder. Okay, the next thing that I sent home are the Shirley Grammar worksheets. We don't start Shirley Grammar till I think week 2 or 3. But you're going to get all the information you need for that. But I will start teaching it in the classroom, and I'm even going to send home a few things here and there. But as far as accessing the Shirley portal, which is online, none of that happens for the first couple weeks, just so that you guys can get situated and feel really good about things before we add in all these technology components. But these manila folders, this has the worksheets. So I'll say class practice 1. You'll find class practice 1. They'll do that work. After they do it, then they bring it to you, and you get the wonderful job of, in this manila folder, the Shirley answer keys for 5th grade. So you will go through and circle or mark what they missed, or if they didn't, if it's something they needed to add that they didn't do, or if something they just got wrong. Just figure out a system that works for you and your student. Maybe just circle it. And then again, it's so important that they go back and they do those corrections. We got through all of Shirley Grammar last year. I was so proud of us. Even during COVID, we made it through sentence pattern 5. They're going to get this again in 6th grade. So, I'm looking for improvement. I'm looking for them to understand, but I'm not looking for perfection. They're not mastering English grammar. But we are moving forward, and it's good for them to improve. And the way that they will improve, the way that they'll go from maybe missing 20, which is easy to do because there's a bazillion opportunities to get wrong. You want to see improvement. If you're feeling like they're not improving or they're getting worse, they're going from missing 20 to missing 30 and 40 and all of them, that's a problem. So I don't know. I don't know if they're just not wanting to do the work. So you need to help assess and figure out, is this them really not understanding it, or is this them being lazy? Like, where is the breakdown? And then same for math, I'll point you back to, hey, be sure that if they're struggling, look back at reference 15 in the Shirley portal. And once you go through the Shirley training, then that will make more sense to you. You have to have a code. You may or may not have that code in your bag. I'm still working on that as I'm writing these videos. I didn't have access to every student's code. I only had, anyway, that doesn't matter. But so there might be a little folder that has the Shirley Grammar code that you need, or it's coming. Okay, so those are the 3 things that stay home that are English related. A couple things that you don't have today are your first novel, Where the Red Fern Grows. Excited about this book. It's really sweet. I listened to it this summer. I do want to give you a little warning. There is a chapter in here that is intense. I'll try to warn you when it's coming up. I believe it's around chapter 11 or 12. And it's a little violent and has a few little choice words. But this is it's a great book. I think every 5th grader in the country reads Where the Red Fern Grows. I really loved the mom in the book. It just resonated with me this summer as I was listening to it. She's just a really great character in the story. The kids love the dogs. It ends sad. It's just, all dog books do. So if you have a sensitive reader, just maybe, there may be times that you just want to read this alongside with your kiddo, okay? Okay, this baby. You don't have this because I'm handing it to your student on the first day of school because these 2 items travel back and forth every single class day, okay? Inside this binder, there is information for the composition unit that we're on. So we're going to start our year with a personal narrative. I'm tying all of our composition units to history this year, and even the personal narrative will be tied to history. I'm not going to tell you how that is. It's a little bit of a secret. I don't want your student to know just yet. But you know how they have to pick a small moment to write that personal narrative? It'll help even narrow that small moment down because sometimes the kids just have a hard time coming up with what they want to write about. So I think me kind of tying it to our history will help them. And then, so the big units that we do are personal narrative. That takes us about 10 weeks. And then we start on our opinion paper or argumentative paper. We start that before the winter break. We start just understanding what an opinion paper is and what needs the components that need to be in it. But we don't actually start writing the final draft or start writing that draft until you come back after winter break. But we'll do some practice writing leading up to the winter break for opinion papers. Then after that one is we do a little fun little creative writing piece. We don't tie that to history. That's just a fun, just kind of a relax, because the argumentative paper is a biggie, and so I give them a little break with that creative writing piece, especially if you have a student that loves creative writing. They'll love that. It's about a 3-week unit, and then we end the year with our biography, and it's tied to history. It just has to be, and it's great. And they learn how to do the research on that and write about it, and it turned out really great, even during all the weird digital schooling last year. Okay, so this binder is we're going to use it in class. I'm going to give them information that they'll need for their satellite day assignments. If I teach it in class, usually the way I do this, I'll teach a concept in class. Let's say it is how to write a strong intro. Maybe I give them 4 ideas of how to write a strong intro. They practice a couple of them in class. Usually I tie it to like a fairy tale so they can practice it with a familiar story, and they really love that. It gives them a creative, an opportunity to get really creative with coming up with a new intro to The 3 Little Pigs or a fairy tale like that. And then when they go home, that's where they're going to take that information and they're going to apply it towards their masterpiece or their paper that they're working on. So let's say I've taught them 4 different strong leads or intros. I might assign, say, hey, pick 2, write 2 intros for your paper, and then on the next satellite day, now read both of those intros to your parents and have them help you decide which is a better one to use. And then once y'all decide which one, then that's the one you're going to go with. That's the one that we'll continue to kind of edit and revise and move forward on. So there is a spot in this binder this is all the stuff that I'm going to teach in the classroom, that you'll have access to. But there is a blank spot. I'm not sure why there's not a a label on this tab, but where the notebook paper is, that's where they're going to do their satellite work. Okay? And all composition assignments stay in the composition binder. This front folder, so if I sent them home to work on a strong lead and maybe they did it by hand, or if they typed it out, whatever they did, it needs to go in this front pocket. And when we start our composition time in class, I'll just say open up your composition binder, let me see that front flap, I'll go through, I'll make sure that everybody did what they were supposed to do. We'll talk through it. Okay, so that's composition. Literature, there is a spot in this binder, it doesn't have anything in it for literature. When we do quizzes in class, we usually grade those as a class, and then they're going to store them in this spot in their binder. That way, whenever it's test time, they'll use those quizzes to study for their tests. Okay? And then also I have a little grammar resource back here. And these practice sentences, I didn't have these last year, but I just discovered them over the summer. These practice sentences will reinforce how we classify sentences. It'll reinforce what was taught in the classroom. So we'll either do these in class to practice them, or I will assign it at home. But either way, you can refer them back if they're struggling on their class practices. Hey, look back at your practice sentences that you did maybe in class, or again, like I might assign them. That's just one more way to kind of reinforce those Shirley grammar concepts, okay? So that's all in this binder. This binder goes back and forth. So does Where the Red Fern Grows. I want to get through 2 novels this semester, and the only way that will work is if we read some of Where the Red Fern Grows in class. So make sure that this travels back and forth, and along with this. And that's it for English. I look forward to your questions, okay?